We have complicated ownership and management structure in the uplands, and the result is that some areas are managed by multiple people as commonage, even though there's various types of ownership, and other areas are managed by one individual. So how do we get farmers to agree to do anything on those commonages? In the past, all agri-environmental schemes have been dealing with those farmers as individuals, not as a group, and I suppose the net result is, despite years of schemes and a lot of money, the habitats have continued to deteriorate. So our first objective was to get the commonage farmers to come together, that when we sit down with them we can agree one plan for the whole area, and they as a group then are responsible for delivering that plan, because I suppose dealing with them as individuals hadn't worked, so it was time to try something different.
Well, I suppose, yeah, we were all saying, wonder what's this going to come to, like, you know, or everyone was thinking, what's it going to make any difference at all, like, or is it only a matter of ticking the boxes, like, you know?
I suppose when I first started talking here about this idea of farmers all working together as a group and agreeing stuff, like, you get some odd looks and people say, well, that won't work, you know, and there's lads don't get on together and all the rest. So we decided that we wanted some formal structure for it. So it wasn't just a case of everybody comes down some night and we all sign a form and suddenly we're a group and we go ahead, and first time there's a problem then it falls apart. Our operation group within the SUS, we discussed it and we decided that we would bring in an external facilitator, somebody with some experience in this. So then that facilitator and myself as project manager, we sat down and we drew up a kind of a program that the farmers would have to come through a certain number of workshops and meetings, so that kind of taught them or give them the structure that if they have problems, how do they make decisions and how do they move forward?
No, it was a good idea actually. It was a good idea, yeah. And like, you know, especially on our hill, like we have 10 on it, like, you know. It's one of the bigger communities, like, that has people on it, you know, so it was a good idea.
Well, they may have been farming the same piece of land for years and years, and their families, they may have never actually sat down kind of as a unit just to talk about the hill and, hey, you know, this is important and we're all working on this together. And like with traditional schemes, you know, farmers would have been treated as individuals, whereas with SUS we were treating a commonage area as a unit. By working as a group, by carrying out the actions together and by taking, I suppose, ownership of the project as well, and payments and how payments were going to be divided out, and grazing management plans, and, you know, if somebody may have not had the maximum number of sheep that are there, someone else might have had slightly more, so it worked out and balanced, you know, and it worked for everybody.
Obviously there has to be, for any group to work, there has to be some incentive, there has to be an objective or an end goal, and the incentive we were giving these farmers was, look, we're going to we're going to help you to manage your hills, and there will be a financial reward if the hills are in better condition.
The difference with SUS was that it was results based. It was payments for doing works. Other schemes were always very broad brush schemes, you know, just X amount of money for if you had X amount of hectares, but the work wasn't always getting done. That was the trouble we had.
Now, one of the really innovative things we looked at with the commonages was, if we're paying for the quality that's delivered on the hills, how do we reward the people who are delivering that, not the people who are sitting at home doing nothing? So what we did was we went out and we asked the farmers themselves, and we just threw out to them, look, we calculated a payment based on the whole area of the commonage, and this amount of money, how should that be divided up among the two? And each site had a discussion among themselves as to what was appropriate for them. They all came up with different answers. Some came up with the same answers for very, very different reasons.
You know, if you have somebody that's not active, well, it's very necessary to have their blessing to go ahead, or to say, right, well, sure, I'm not going to use it, but I'll let everyone else go ahead, and, you know, and then the group works out among themselves, you know, what way payments is going to work.
We had great buy-in and support from the farmers, and like, they did come with us and they trusted us on it. They were taking a bit of a leap of faith, because some of the things we were asking them to do, it was not the actions that they're normally associated with uplands. But I think that it does show there is an appetite out there among farmers to do things slightly different. We were guaranteeing it for 5 years, but the other thing we said is that at the end of the 5 years, your hill or your commonage will be in much better condition than it was starting. And I think on all of our hills we have demonstrated that we have done work and we have improved the habitat conditions there.